discourse, we opened up for questions and answers regarding the first 4 verses of Sri Siksastakam. And as I mentioned, I have spoken everything that I've spoken thus far from the Katha I've heard from my Guru Padma, also from the Sanmodan Bhashya of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which my Guru Dev had printed the book Siksastakam, inclusive of that commentary. So from those I've paraphrased, gave narrative strictly from those that Harikatha of my Guru Dev and from this commentary of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And we've come now to the 5th verse. I mentioned, and I'll repeat it again, that there's always 2 tracks that are going on in Siksastakam. One is Mahaprabhu's having previously written Siksastakam as a sort of miniature bhajan padati based around Harinam. In other words, how we should do our bhajan sadhan, and the mool practice in bhajan sadhan is Nam Sankirtan. Bhakti has 64 different angas. They are distilled to 9, like Shravan, Kirtan, Vishnu Smaran, and Parasevanam, Acham Vandam, Dasyam, Shakyam, Atmanivedan. That is further distilled to 5 things: Nam Kirtan, Sadhu Sangha, Bhagavat Shravan, Maturavas, and Sri Murtaya Shraddhai Sevan. So I gave, I think, last week. If not, I'll explain it quickly now. The specificity of the order of those 5 things is very important. Nam Kirtan, Sarvasresht, it is the most important element of all the things. Why? Because in the 2nd verse of Siksastakam we read, Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti, that Bhagavan has put all his Shakti in his names. And the commentary, both of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and the Acharyas mention, Nija Sarva Shakti means the Roop, Gun, Parika, and Leela are fully present along directly with all of the nuances of prem are all present in the names. This is the meaning of Nija Sarva Shakti. Also, the power of deliverance is in the name, which means the abundance of a Karun Shakti. Karun Shakti is a special feature of Srimati Radhika. She's known as Karunamayi, the most so merciful. So that's also fully embedded in the name. Understand? But among all of those angas, the most important is Nam Kirtan. So Mahaprabhu wrote his Padati based around this Nam Kirtan. In the last 12 years of his life, of his manifest pastime, in the Gambhira, in Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu spent those years tasting the inner meaning of those verses in the company of Sarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda. These verses also exemplified, as I told in the very first class that we did, they personify the mood of Radhika at Uddhav Kyari when Krishna was taken to Mathura by Akrura. At that time, the depth of Srimati Radhika's separation mood became extremely high. So through these verses, Mahaprabhu is also tasting those moods. In the Antya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, means the very last chapters, chapter 20 especially, which is the last chapter, then these moods of Radhika, along with the instructions for sadhakas regarding Siksastakam, have been told. So I went through both explanations for the first 4 verses. So now we've come to verse 5. Ai nanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishameva vambudo kripaya tava pada pankaja stita duli sadrisam vichintaya. So here it's mentioning Ai, in Sanskrit, Ai, it's an expression of an emotion. Just like there's a very famous verse by Sri Madhavinda Puripad, Ai dina dayadranata maturanata kalavalukshaye. So this word Ai is the expression of an emotion. So the emotion that Mahaprabhu is absorbed in from verse number 2, right? The last 2 lines of verse number 2, Ihajanini, let me see, is Nanu Akari Bahuda Nijasav Shaksis, the Tarapita Niyamita Smana Nirakala, Ihajani Anuraga. So he's saying, I feel very unfortunate that even though you've manifested in these names all of your Shakti, still, I don't find Anurag means deep attachment to these names. Of course, Mahaprabhu speaking out of great humility. So then in the following verse, he then says, Trenanapi suni chena tororupi evas ishnuna, amanina monadena, kirtaniya sadahari. To get this deep rag for Sri Harinam, which is not different from you, then one has to become situated and absorbed in this great mood of humility. In Sanskrit, it's called Dainya Bhav. Dainya Bhav means great humility. So in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita of Srila Sanatana Goswami Pad, there's a verse there that says, Pari Pokena Dainyasya Krishna Prema Ajasanvitanyate Parasparam Apietan Karya Karyam Ikshate. That this mood of humility directly arises in proportion to the depth of Krishna consciousness or to the depth of your mood of love. Paripokena Dainyasya. So this Dainya Bhava, this humility rises, it becomes, Paka means mature, or ripe or mature. Paripok, it becomes completely mature in relation to the amount of Krishna consciousness you've developed. So now Mahaprabhu is saying that this mood of humility is the inner portal, for lack of a better word. It's the inner portal, it's the inner means of developing the mood under which the continual remembrance, because remember in that second verse also, it said, Niyamita smarane nakala. There's no hard and fast rules or time around smaran of Harinam. And in the second class, you can go back and reference, I mentioned what is the deep meaning of the word smaran. So he's saying that becoming absorbed in this great mood of humility, which means deepening your mood of love for Bhagavan, then Kirtaniya Sadahari, that allows the continuous chanting of the name and absorption in the name. Mahaprabhu then said, I don't want anything. I only want that, because if there's any self-interest, then it obfuscates the ability to fully dedicate your heart to developing love for Krishna, right? Because in the verse, Anya Abhilasito Sunya. So we explained this verse before. Anya Abhilas means having no other Abhilas, except in some dire condition. So the suffix ita means if you're in some condition that you may call out to Krishna, then that does not contradict the principle of being Anya Abhilas, Sunya. It means it doesn't negate the idea of not having any other desire. If to save your own life or something else, you call out to Krishna, oh, please save me. And of course, our Acharyas give the example of Draupadi, right? So then he says, you should only have this desire to serve Krishna. So any self-interest, right, that will obfuscate that ability to serve Krishna. So then in the fourth verse, he says, Nandanam Nanjanam Nasundarim, Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kame. I don't want anything else, especially the most valuable things that people want in this life. Dhan, Jan, right, means followers of popularity, wealth. Sundarim, some relationship with the opposite sex in some way, form, or another. Or anything else. Va means anything else. Va Jagadisha Kame, or anything, up to liberation, which may be obtained. Mamma Janmani Jamninisri. I don't even want liberation. Only a hoitaki bhakti. Only this pure love is my only desire. So now, having declared that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood of Dainya Bhav, or humility, increased. And Mahaprabhu then began to recite, beginning Ai. Ai means the reflection of this mood. In the deep mood of this Dainya Bhav, Mahaprabhu began to say, Nanda Tanuja Kinkarab. Nanda Tanuj means the son of Nanda Maharaj. So why does Mahaprabhu use, like sometimes we'll hear also Yashoda Nandan or Nanda Nandan. The reason that Krishna is addressed by these names is because of the quality of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. The father of Nanda Maharaj, his name was Parajanya. And the Acharyas have commented that Parajanya Maharaj, Parajanya means like a cloud, that Parajanya Maharaj was so magnanimous and so affectionate to all of the Brijbasis that it says that he produced 5 sons were like the rain of Ananda. So Abhinanda, Nanda, Nanda, etc. Right? So Parjanya Maharaj was so magnanimous, so affectionate, that he gave, like almost like a cloud, he rained down 5 sons who were like complete bliss. So when they address Krishna as Nanda Tanuj, the son of Nanda Maharaj, is to indicate that those qualities, they were also being manifest in Krishna. Now, sometimes the gopis would become critical of Krishna using the same logic, because they would say, for instance, in Gopi Geet, they were saying, Nakula Gopika Nandana Bhavam, Akila Dehinam Antra Atmadrik. No, you're not like the son of Nanda and Yashoda, because you're being so cruel that we've come to this Ras dance to serve you, but now you've disappeared from us and you're acting very cruel. You're acting very indifferent. You understand? So in either way, they've used this term, Nanda Nandan, Yashoda Nandan, etc., to indicate Krishna's qualities of being very loving, very merciful, very magnanimous. So he's saying, Ai Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram. Oh, you son of Nanda Maharaj, who are so magnanimous, so glorious. Kinkaram. Kinkaram means Kim Karo. Kim Karo means, literally, Kim means how. Karo means serve. How can I serve you? What can I do? So this is the meaning of the word Kinkaram, that I consider myself your servant. And considering myself your servant, Kim means I'm always in the mood, based on Ayi, this deep love and affection, and the humility. I'm always in a position, how can I serve you? But I realize, and this is a very interesting part of the verse that's coming up, Patitam mam vishame bhavam baudo. Ambudo means like an ocean. Bhava means of material existence. Vishame means in Sanskrit like something that's fearful or dreadful. Or some even other Sanskrit definitions like deceitful. Like in some ways it means like someone who's deceitful. So the material world has so many qualities like this. So he's saying, Patitam mam vishame bhavam ambudo. Into this material arena, I've fallen. So we need to also understand something here. Patita means fallen, but we should not take it that this means that I've fallen from a particular place and now I'm in this condition. The word patit means to be fallen, or pat means also to be fallen. If you look at the etymology in Sanskrit, pat means to be fallen. Ita means a condition. So the condition of being fallen is what's being described, not a historical idea of having fallen from somewhere or some place. It means the condition, the nature of being fallen. Mum, I am in that condition. And that condition is given rise, Vishame, Bhava Ambudo, to being affiliated with this material world. I won't go into it here because we've had many classes on it before, that the nature of the jiva sojourn in the material world is anadi. It means it's from time without any beginning. And being from time without any beginning, because of the marginal nature of the jiva, they've always experienced this material world in a vicarious way. I mentioned many times before, Jiva Goswami Pad has pointed out in Paramatma Sandarbha, Ekarup Swarupava, that the jiva is always situated in their nature. But by the avidya shakti, avidya has 5 different features. Avidya means the absence of knowledge of my own nature. Asmita, the awarding of a conception that I'm something other than the Das of Krishna. Jiva Goswami also told, Dasa Bhuti Harieva, Nanyasha Eva Karachana. You cannot be something else. But Asmita gives the presentation, Asmi Ita. Asmi means I am. Ita means a condition of thinking I'm something else other than the servant of Krishna. Then the false ego tells me the particular karmic upadi that I have, that's who I am. And then the false ego says that that upadi allows you the opportunity to be aham, I am, karana, the cause, and karta, the doer of everything. So this is how the vicarious connection with the material energy takes place. And because it's not your true identity, then a duality takes place, which is called rag and dvesh, aversion and attraction. And the nature of this avidya is so powerful, abhinavaj. It completely absorbs the jivatma and the jiva themselves cannot extricate themselves by their own energy. I quoted the verse many times from Srimad Bhagavatam in the 11th canto, Anadya Vidya Yuktasha Purushasha Vedatmanam Swato na Sambhavanti. On your own, you cannot extricate yourself. Anya requires another, and that means Guru Sadhu, who's described in this verse, Gyanatva Gyanado Bhavet. Understand? So, Patita Mam Vishame Bhavam Ambudo. I've fallen into this dreadful material ocean, right, from Anarikal. But another very subtle thing here is Mahaprabhu in the mood of a sadhaka, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, we should recognize, yes, my condition is very frightful and perilous. And that by analysis of the material world, we should see, oh, Bhagavan, please help me. But how will this identify with not having the desire for liberation? In other words, if the motivation becomes, we can go back to the regular screen, Parvati. If the motivation becomes, please help me to get free from my suffering, will this be pure bhakti? That becomes the question.
No.
It will not be pure bhakti. It will be the desire for liberation. You understand? So then what does Mahaprabhu's statement actually mean here? Kripaya tava pada pankaja. Give me your kripa means give me your mercy to have the shelter of your lotus feet, because pankaja means like a lotus. But the indication here is that the lotus has many wonderful, sweet qualities. There are sun-blooming lotuses, moon-blooming lotuses, and the feet of Krishna represent both. Why? Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hoy Andakar. By the influence of Samvit Shakti, whom Krishna is a predominating deity of, Samvit Shakti means in Swarup Shakti, that energy which gives cognition of love of God. Krishna is a predominating deity. So Krishna Surya Sam, he's like the sun that he illuminates with knowledge the nature of the relationship of the jiva to himself, etc. Understand? But in that knowledge is also the knowledge of the relationship of love. And in that love, there's so much rasa. Where does rasa come from? The moon. So the moon blooming lotuses are also represented in Krishna's lotus feet. You understand? So he's saying, give me shelter there, where the knowledge which gives me freedom from the illusion of this material world is present, but also gives me the ability to serve you in the mood of a particular kind of loving affection. You understand? But if you're pleading for that to get free from material suffering, are you not violating the principles of Anya Abhilas Sunya? Because you want liberation?
Yes.
Is it true or not?
True.
It would be violation. So therefore, Mahaprabhu cannot be saying, Kripaya Tava, give me your kripa in order to get free from suffering. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his commentary says we should recognize this material world is dukkha yama shashvatam. It is a suffering place. And we should understand how that suffering exists. Of course, I mentioned many times, Jiva Goswami told Chetananda Atmika in the Paramatma Sandarbha, he lists 21 qualities of the Atma. And there he says Chetananda Atmika, then he comments on it. He says Chetananda Atmika here means the jiva is not jud, it's not inert. And also Ananda Atmaka means that it is dukkha pratiyoga. That means there's no misery or suffering in the Atma itself. So I don't want to repeat classes that we've done earlier, but then where does misery come from? It's not in the Atma, it's not in the soul.
Identifying with the body.
Identifying with the body, and we gave the example. If you take two chemicals, those chemicals may be benign in and of themselves, but when you put them together, the combination of those two chemicals produce either incendiary or explosive tendencies. You understand? In their own natures, they're what they are. But when you mix them, you get a problem. In the same way, when the Atma identifies, as Didi was saying, vicariously with the material world, that gives the rise to what is called suffering. Understand? So, but one way or the other, if the jiva is pleading, please give me freedom from this suffering, how is that pure devotion? Here's the secret. He's not praying that give me freedom from suffering. His original prayer was, Ai Nanda Tanuj Kinkaram. Make me your servant so I can please you. You understand? So the plea is, give me the ability, despite being absorbed in Dainya Bhav, realizing my condition is being very fallen. Give me ability to please you. Not praying for my own self. I'm praying, give me the ability to please you. And because Dainya Bhav is arisen in the heart of Mahaprabhu, he's considering himself to be eminently unqualified. This is the only way that you can actually approach Bhagavan. Just like it's mentioned that we should always be an anugatya. So what does anugatya mean? Anugatya means to follow the path of someone. So anu means to follow. The word anu also means continuously, something done in a continuum. But the word anu also means anutva. Anutva means like an atom. Means we should consider ourselves very, very insignificant. Therefore, Mahaprabhu recites the last line. Stita duli sadrisam vichintaya. Therefore, in this depth of humility, I have desired to please you so much due to love and affection. But realizing that my condition is so unqualified for it, I am begging you for your mercy for the qualification to love and please you. Already in the last verse, he's told, Mamma Janmani Janmani Isri. I'll take birth over and over again. So I'm not praying for liberation. So we have to follow the verses. It's called Sangati. So there's Sastra Sangati, Adhyay Sangati, Shloka Sangati. The word Sangati means connecting one verse to another. So he's already prayed, I don't want liberation. So this expression is only, I want to love and serve you. Therefore, I realize that can't be done without your mercy. And how is the mercy of Bhagavan given? We've mentioned it many times. Paramasvatantra Bhagavad Bhakta. Mahaprabhu bestows his mercy. Yes, by Guru Sadhu. Krishna bestows his mercy. You're clapping because you knew the answer. So Bhagavan bestows his mercy in the sadhu. This is all in, what is it? Madhurya Kandamini, very clearly it's mentioned. He gives his mercy to the sadhu, and the sadhu becomes a dispensary of the mercy of Bhagavan. Why is that? What is the reason for that? Remember we spoke that if Bhagavan would directly give his mercy, then it would be considered that he's being partial. This is called the fault of asamya dosh. That Bhagavan is being partial.
That's why he told in Gita to Arjun that Arjun, you declare.
Yes.
That doesn't
Kunte pratijani. Yes. He's telling Arjun, you say it. So he gives this mercy to the devotee to give to those who are aspiring for his service. But now Mahaprabhu is praying. Listen, anutva. The humility should be so great, one considers himself like atomic in relation to the greatness of so many other devotees who love Bhagavan. So he says, considering that, I'm not looking for a special placement in your service. Stita duli, duli means dust. Stita duli, sadrisam, sadrisam means to see me like a piece of dust. But stita, stita means to attach me somehow to your lotus feet. Vichintaya means, please give me a special consideration for this. Like the word chinta means to contemplate something. Achintya means something which is beyond contemplation. Vichintaya means visesh chinta, means to give special consideration to my case. I realize I have no other way. Just like Bhaktivinoda Thakur very nicely, he expresses in his bhajan, Eka kiya ma nahi pai bhal harinam sankirtane. Krishna say to Ma Krishna dati parato mana sakati ache. Oh, Vaishnav Thakur, you have Krishna, you have the ability to give him. Therefore, amitu kangala, Krishna Krishna boli, daya tava pache pache. Therefore, I'm going to abandon, almost like in madness, of my desire to serve Krishna. I'm going to abandon all of my ideas that I can produce the necessary things to do that and take full shelter of you, O Sadhu Guru, and run after your lotus feet. Understand? So he's saying here, just give this special consideration to me. Vichintaya. Because without your mercy, it would be impossible to obtain a position in which I can give loving service to you, because I am so fallen. So this is the base attitude by which we have to approach the process of bhakti. If we approach the process of bhakti, I am very intelligent, I am very qualified, very good kirtaniya, pracharika. Pracharika means like preacher. I'm very good sevak, tatakaji. If you have any of these abhiman, right, then in that case, how you taste this position? How you taste this position? Stita tuli. Stita means to be situated. The word sta in Sanskrit means to be situated. So stita means to be fixed or situated in this consciousness of being insignificant. And then sadrisam, begging Bhagavan that you'll see me in this condition and realize my desire, i.e. Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram, to be your kinkar. And give me this special mercy after vichintaya, after your deep consideration. This is really important because I told many times, I don't think I told many times here, but in different forums, that once I was very confounded by one verse in Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto, sixth chapter. In there, Narada Muni is describing his unfoldment in bhakti to Vyas. And he describes that when he obtained perfection, just like lightning and illumination take place simultaneously, when time became mature, he gave up one body. And then in the verse next, he says, Prayujamani mai tvam sudim bhagavatim tanum. When I gave up due to the finishing of all parabdha karmas, parabdha karma nirvano anyat patat banchabodhika. The body of 5 elements fell away, and I got a body that was suitable to serve Bhagavan. But the first word in that verse, prayujamane. So in the translations, it always says awarded. So for so long, I was confounded because in Sanskrit, the word prayuj means like completely connected to something, because yuj means very similar to the word yoga. And pra, that prefix, prakrishtarupe, means complete. So prayuj means to be completely connected to something. So how does the word awarded come in? So one sannyasi, very sweet sannyasi, he had the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on his computer. So he showed me in the Sanskrit, in the Devanagari, he showed me that prayujamane means niyamane. The word niyamane in Sanskrit means to award. So I said, okay, so now we have Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It's clear. Commentators have said this. Srila Prabhupada's translated like this. So it's all clear. But then I started thinking, but why does prayujamane, which means completely connected, mean niyamane, awarded? So I kept searching and praying to Gurudev. One day I was looking in Kram Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami, and I said, let me look up this verse. I looked up the verse, and in that commentary, Jiva Goswami says that the word prayujamane means awarded, and it's because without the mercy of Bhagavan, how would this be possible? You understand? So prayuj wouldn't be an insignificant definition, because without the mercy of Bhagavan, Sudam Bhagavatim Tanum, a tanu means a body, suitable for service, could never be obtained. It requires the mercy of Bhagavan. Even when you get the mercy of Sri Guru Sadhu, still the awarding of Swarup Shakti will come from whom?
Radharani.
From Srimati Radharani.
Mm.
Radha and Krishna together, but from Srimati Radharani, Radharani will award Swarup Shakti. So it requires the awarding of that Swarup Shakti. That's why the stage of a Shakti has been described. Tasya tadrasa sudakaragabasa sumulasita hridaya spatikamani. When the heart has become pure like a crystal, and it can reflect the inner mood, sudakaraka abasa, of an eternal associate. So it comes onto your consciousness almost like a reflection, like a shadow. So in that state, you can see clearly the intensity of the mood that you desired all this time, that you've been unfolding in bhakti, right? So now, the only thing you await is the mercy of Bhagavan to award you the substance that crystallizes that mood. You understand? So the highest position in aspirational context is ashakti. It means you've done everything you possibly could by the mercy of Guru Sadhu. You followed process in their anugatya, everything, and now it's brought to the stage of intense desire, ashakti. Oh, I'm only awaiting. That's why so many bhajans are written, kabe habe. When will? You understand? When will this happen? You understand? Because it only awaits now the mercy of Srimati Radharani to bestow, right? Swarup Shakti and crystallize this desire. Understand? So in the prayer he's saying, Kripaya Tava Padapankaja, I want the mercy to take shelter of your lotus feet, to be your kinkara, right? Despite myself being so fallen in the position of this material world, having been in Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his Sanmoda Bhasha, he describes how the jiva is so absorbed in this material world that even when they take to the process of bhakti, all of the elements of their material connection almost like rides on their coattail with them. It becomes very difficult to practice bhakti. We've also talked about this many times, that as long as there's not a deep impression of sambandha gyan, means your self-identification with a particular mood of service in relation to Krishna, given by Sri Guru at the time of Diksha, then the material samskars and the abhiman of your previous life will transfer right into your practice of bhakti. So Srila Prabhupada wrote that even while practicing bhakti, 81 different varieties of the interplay of the modes of nature will mix in with the bhakti. Does anybody remember how this number 81 is acquired? How many processes of bhakti are?
Nada Bhakti is 9 processes of Bhakti.
Yes.
And then there are 3 mode of material nature, and they are mixed with each other. So Tama Guna is mixed with Sataguna, or Sataguna is mixed with like Rajaguna. So there are 9 combination of this thing. So
Yes.
9 process of Bhakti into 9 types of mode of energy is 81 types of the Bhakti we can, yeah.
Yes, Anishtita Bhakti.
Anishtita Bhakti, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So did everybody catch it? So remember, there's 3 modes of material nature, but the modes never are operating independently or in singular fashion. There's always mutation between the modes. So sometimes goodness will mix with passion, passion with ignorance, ignorance with goodness. So when you go 3 times 3, it's 9. There are 9 processes of bhakti. Right? We mentioned traveling, Kirtan, Vishnu Smaran, Padasevam, etc. 9 times 9 is 81. So Srila Prabhupada writes in one purport that when these material impressions carry over into the practice of sadhan bhajan, then it produces 81 different varieties of prakrita bhakti. Prakrita bhakti means bhakti still influenced by material energy. That's why when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when it was describing different types of Bhagavat, different types of devotees, it mentions Acharya Meva Haraye, what is it? Acharya Meva Haraye, Shraddha Pujalayate, Na Tad Bhakteshu Cha Anyeshu Sa Bhakta Prakrita Smritaha. It says that person who may be even duly initiated, meaning they've received Diksha mantras, everything, and therefore they have been given some adhikar, quote, because adhikar is a deeper meaning here, but they've been given eligibility to do the seva of Thakurji. So with great faith, realizing Thakurji, not realizing, but understanding Thakurji is the representation, I'll say, of Bhagavan. They're with great faith, they're doing the puja of Bhagavan. But what makes their bhakti prakrita bhakti? Because the last line says this is prakrita bhakti, or that person is a prakrita bhakta, means they're still in the category of material bhakta or practitioner, because these 81 different influences are present. Why are these 81 different influences still present? Natad bhakteshu cha anyeshu, because they have not understood sadhu sangha. And if you can't understand the nature of relationship with the sadhu, then anyeshu, you can't understand everything else about bhakti. So the external feature of doing the worship may be done very nicely, but you can't understand what is sadhu sangha, who's a bhakta, therefore you can't understand anyeshu, everything else in relation to bhakti. So your bhakti remains bound by the material impressions. You understand? And one of the chief meanings here is that Sambandha Gyan does not take place. Because unless you have relationship with Sadhu Guru, then Sambandha Gyan cannot take place. Raghunath Das Goswami saying, Guru Mukunda Prestave. Until you understand the position of Guru in relation to Mukunda, then no ability to understand Sambandha Gyan. And if there is no Sambandha Gyan, there is not an actual basis for substantive practice. Substantive and intentional practice means having practice, as Mahaprabhu told, Tanuja Kinkaram, O Nanda Tanuj, I am your Kinkara, I am your servant. So the first level of Sambandha Gyan is understanding constitutionally, I am Dasosmi. So my Asmi, remember I used this word beginning when I talked about ignorance, Avidya presents Asmita, a condition of not being the Das of Krishna, but imitating Krishna by the name Aham. You understand? That's why when we say pranam to Guru, what is the first word in almost every pranam mantra? Namaha Namah. What does Namah mean? Na aham mameti. I'm not I. Aham evashi, aham pravashasa, aham savasha prabhavo, aham eva erashi. All the verses that Bhagavan describes his position, he uses the word aham. So actually the word aham, it belongs to Bhagavan. What is the word that is suitable to our identification? Dasosmi. You understand? So until one is established in Sambandha Gyan, that they understand I am the Das of Krishna, Jivera Supraya Krishna Nitya Das, then it becomes very difficult to, with substance and intention, practice trying to understand the Viseshita of that Dashood. Viseshita means the specificity of being Das. Because if you don't know your Das, how you'll aspire to be Das as a cowherd boy, Das as a manjari, Das in Vatsalya Bas, Ras, or anything? How you'll understand the specificity if you will not understand the foundation? So first, Mahaprabhu is praying here, very humble mood, Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram, as your Das, but your Das who's fallen into this abominable condition, to give you service in my dasitva, the specificity of my dasitva, then please give me your mercy because it's the only way. I know your mercy will flow through a devotee. Still, even receiving your mercy, stitudli sadr samvichintaya, I will consider that you've given me special consideration for this. It's not because I'm qualified, it's because of your extreme mercy. So I'm willing to be a piece of dust. Now, there's one thing here that's also a continuum from verse number 3. Mahaprabhu prayed in verse number 3, Trenadapi Sunich. So remember we described on that day how Sunich means being lower. Sunich means, Nich means low, Sunich means lower even than the grass. Under the grass is the dirt. You understand? So now he's saying, yes, having given deference to the grass as being superior, I'm praying that when you step on the grass, it may be possible that the dust particles which are below that grass, as one of those, I may become attached to your lotus feet. You understand? So this is the meaning, that you'll recognize me only in this capacity. Understand? Then in the commentary that's written between my Guru Dev and Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he says, even Lakshmi Devi, she aspires for this. Lakshmi Devi is so powerful. She's Shakti of Bhagavan. She always resides on the chest of Bhagavan. But then Lakshmi Devi prays, seeing the glory of Tulsi, who resides at your feet, seeing the glories of all your devotees who reside at your feet, experiencing the nectar of the taste of those sweet lotus feet. I also desire to serve at those feet. So Lakshmi wants a space on those lotus feet as well. So we're thinking, no, but I'm not even qualified like all devotees. So I'm not asking to be blessed by being at your lotus feet, stutaduli, sadhu samvichintaya, that when you step on the grass and your feet make an impression and touch the dust, I'll become attached to the bottom of your feet. On the bottom of the feet, you don't see the dust particle. It means I want to be in a position, no, not that I'm on Krishna's feet, I'm great seva. I'm on the feet of Krishna. Under the feet of Krishna, nobody can see. I want to do my service with so much love and affection, but I don't want to be known and grandized. Love the puja pratish means name, fame, adoration. Oh, only being under your lotus feet and tasting the nectar of unconditional hoitaki bhakti to you. That's the position I'm praying for. Understand? So this is the sadhaka illumination or sadhaka prakash of this verse. So any questions before we try to explain the mood of Srimati Radhika here? Any question?
Hare Krishna, yes, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
In relationship to bhakta or the word bhakta,
Mm-hmm.
what is the like official meaning? I know it means student, but what is the relation in terms of Siksastakam and our goals?
The word bhakta or bhakti comes from the root word bhaj. Bhaj datu iti sevayam. Bhaj means the mood of service, but here bhaj means service imbued with love. So bhakti is the shakti and the process which is imbued with that shakti, and a bhakta is the aspirant or the accomplished person in that process of loving service. So bhakti or bhakta is related to the word bhaj datu. Datu means a root, a verbal root of something. Bhaj datu iti sevayam. The mood of being in devotional love and the outcome of that love being manifest in different kinds of loving seva is the real meaning of the word bhakti. A bhakta is either accomplished in that or aspiring for that. In relation to Siksastakam, this verses of Mahaprabhu are two things. They're one, Mahaprabhu's instructions how to be a bhakta. Mahaprabhu told, Apani Achari bhakta bhavangikari. Mahaprabhu took the form himself of a bhakta to demonstrate, Shikamu Sabari, to teach to others, all others, how to be a bhakta. The culmination of being a bhakta, Mahaprabhu went through many phases. Being very restless young boy, being a very good student and scholar, after going to Gaya, meeting Ishwara Puri and receiving Nam and mantra from Ishwara Puri, being a devotee and having deep aspiration, all the way to the point of being so absorbed due to sudden bhajan and the influence of Nam, giving up everything, even those most dear to him, right? And going to Katwa and taking sannyas from, what was that? Keshav Bharati. And then, even though his love and attachment, he promised the Mother Sachi, I will never take sannyas. After Vishwarup took sannyas, Jagannath Mishra passed away, I will never take sannyas. But it just shows the depth of organically experiencing bhakti, that bhakti takes over your consciousness. So you don't act according to your own will, you've surrendered your will to bhakti. Understand? So the function of bhakti inspired Mahaprabhu to take sannyas. Mahaprabhu didn't decide to take sannyas. His love for Mother Sachi was unprecedented. He had a very young wife, Vishnu Priya. You understand? So he was impelled by bhakti. You understand? The uprising, upsurge of the moods of bhakti coming from genuine nam and mantra. So he went and took from Keshav Bharati sannyas. Then he spent the next 12 years traveling, right? And doing the activities of a preacher and so forth and so on. Then the last 12 years of Mahaprabhu's life, he spent in the Gambhira in Puri, tasting the mood for which he aspired. What was the mood that he aspired for? Prema Rasa Niyas Karite Ashwadan. He wanted to taste Prem Ras Niryas. The Niryas of Prem is called Madanakya Mahabhav. It is the mood of Srimati Radharani. This is his abhilas, his desire. Our desire is Swabhakti Sriyam, Anapita Chirim Chirat Karunavati Nakalo, Samutpaitam Unata Ujwala Rasa, Swabhakti Sriyam. To render service to that mood is our desire. Mahaprabhu's desire to taste that mood. So now, in this last 12 years, in the Gambhira, in the form of Siksastakam, having demonstrated what it is to be a bhakta, and having followed the teachings to perfection, he's now tasting these verses. You understand? I think there's one verse here in the Antalila that's going to say, Purva, Ashta Shlokera, Kare, Loka Shikar. He wanted to give Loka Shiksha, means teachings to all persons through these 8 verses. Then, say Ashtashlokera Ashwadila. He then wanted to taste the meaning of them, which he did now here in the Gambhira. Understand? So the word bhakta, I've given definition, but I've also given some context to Sri Siksastakam. Because here's the pinnacle of what it means to be a bhakta, which is to realize your inner aspiration of service. He claims in the very first verse, the very first line of this verse, I want to be kinkara. Kinkara means an unconditional servant. The word kim, I explained, means whatever you desire. So whatever you ask, whatever you want, karo, I'll do that thing. Kim kara. Understand? Or kim karo. With no expectation of remuneration. Only the desire to render the loving service to you. This is called a hoitaki bhakti. That was mentioned in the 4th verse. A hoitaki bhakti to I only want this kind of unmotivated bhakti. Like you see in the gopis of Vrindavan. What is this verse? Atma sukhe dupe gopio na karele vichar. They never took any consideration of their own sukha or dukh, happiness or distress. Their only intention was what will make Krishna happy. So this is the real mood of bhakti, and this is the real mood of a bhakta. That's being expressed. Any last questions before we go on? So now in the mood of Srimati Radharani, becoming deeply absorbed in the mood of Dhanya Bhav, which is one of the 33 Sanchari Bhavs. Radhika mentions Ai, right? Ai again is expression of her deep emotion. So in her very high class of Madan Bhav, Radhika, when she witnessed that Akrur was taking the chariot and taking Krishna away from Vrindavan, all the gopis gathered there. And when the gopis saw this, even though for the entire time that they had their relation with Krishna, it was always kept hidden. There are different elements to each rasa. In Madhurya rasa, there are also elements. One element is called Prachana Mukata. Prachana Mukata means, chana means hidden, and pra means completely. Prachana Mukata means this love should be kept hidden, because we are in fact the duly wedded wives of others. Quote. Right? So, therefore, we cannot reveal this relation that we have with Krishna. So, Prachana Mukata. But on that day that the chariot was going, Visraja Lajja, Ruda, Visraja Lajja, Ruda Sma, Suswaram, Govinda Damo, Dhanamadaveti, Govinda Damo, Dhanamadaveti. They began singing this song. For so long, I never really realized this. I was doing a study one day, and because every time my Gurudev used to we'd have darshan of Gurudev for a festival, anything. When Gurudev would then be leaving the festival, all the devotees would gather near where his car was and begin singing this song. So this was the same song that was sung by the gopis when Akrur was taking Krishna away on the chariot. Ashula Gaur Gobind Maharaj, he revealed from Ujjalini Mani that this mood is called Bhavan Milan. Bhavan Milan, there's Bhut Milan, Bhavi Milan, and Bhavan Milan. Bhavan Milan means the pain of the actual time in which a lover and a beloved are being separated. There's a pre-separation and a post-separation, but the most difficult and heart-wrenching part is the actual moment of the separation. So when Krishna was on the chariot of Akrur and he was going, that was that moment for the gopis headed by Radhika. So Visraja Lajja, they gave up any shyness regarding their relation with Krishna and openly, Ruda Sma means they were crying. Ai is that mood. They were expressing this mood and crying out to Krishna. And they're appealing. O Govinda Damodar Madhaveti. Madhaveti means, especially the gopis, they're the servants, because the mood, I'm telling something which is a little elevated thing. So you could put in file here somewhat, right? By the mercy of Srila Gurudev, right? The name of Krishna, when they are called Radha and Madhav, has very special significance. Just like when we sing the bhajan, Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Kunja Bihari. This was our Srila Prabhupada's Udipa, means his stimulus to speak Harikatha. Before he speak Bhagavatam, he would sing this verse. Such high class of bhajan, of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Radha. May Radhika become victorious over Madhav, especially in their Kunja Vihar, means their pastimes when they're meeting together. So how does Radhika become victorious over Krishna? Radhika has 8 different moods. They're called avas. It means a particular absorption of a particular mood. One mood is called Swadhin Bhatrika Naika. Naika means a heroine. So Swadhin means she has the power to bring her beloved person under her control completely. At that time, Krishna becomes Anukul Dira Lalit Nayak. It means Anukul means a favorably disposed. Dira Lalit means a person who is carefree, who is always joking, who's always in a pleasant mood, who's very young, you understand? Who doesn't have any cares. Nischintan, this is described in Ujjwala Mani, who has no cares. And he has the ability, prayasi, to bring his beloveds under control. But Swadhin Bhatrika Naik of Radhika is more superior. So even that Krishna who can bring others under control, he's brought under control by the prema of Radhika, and he manifests this mood called Anukul Dira Lalit Nayak. You understand? So this is Radhika's expression. Kinkaro for Radhika means that she wants to serve Krishna, but especially according to this mood. Because in this mood, Krishna becomes the most happy. So this is the highest kind of service. So Ai Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram. Let me be Kinkari. I want to please you. But Radhika gives Krishna the greatest pleasure by this mood of being Swadhina Bhatrika Naika. Everything Radhika does pleases Krishna. But when Krishna completely comes under her control, and Krishna is begging for her mercy, that position for Krishna is very great. Even if the gopis will chastise Krishna, he loves it very much. You understand? Even if they'll call him all kinds of abusive names, he considers this to be greater. Even the Stav and Stuti means the prayers of the Vedas. You understand? He thinks like this. Priya Yariman Kori Tandra Batsan. If my very dear ones, Tandra Batsan means they chastise me. Oh, then Veda Stuti Hoite Haite Harise Monaman. If they're calling me all kinds of abusive names, and on the other side, you have millions of Brahmins lined up reciting Purusha Shukta, Vishnu Sahasranam, my mind will be stolen from there by the chastisement of being called a lampat, means the bauchi, cheater. You understand? My mind will be stolen from those prayers to go to the lotus feet of where my very dear ones are abusing me even with this language. This is how high class the love of gopis is, and Radhika Namura Swadhina Bhatrika Nayaka, she can even control Krishna like this. Then Patitam Mam Vishamam Baba Ambudo. Radhika's praying here in the mood like it would have carried, because in the Antilila, chapter 19, I already explained in the very first class that after hearing the sonnet of Advaita Acharya from Jagannatha Pandit, Mahaprabhu displayed this mood of Radhika at the time she was at Uddhav Kyari. So these verses are being recited from that deep mood of separation. So Patitam Mam Vishambe Bhavambudo here means that being overwhelmed by this deep mood of separation is like being in the ocean of suffering. It is very dreadful. So now she's praying, being absorbed in this deep ocean of separation from you. Kripaya, Tava Padapankaja. Please give me shade at your lotus feet. But then Radhika pauses. She says, wait, I'm begging for your Kripa to please be reunited with me. But then Radhika in great humility says, but not wanting to compete with all of those, as I mentioned earlier, who are serving your lotus feet, I will take the most humble position. The other night on our phone conference, I'm not remembering the shlok. I have to look up the shlok. It was a very beautiful shlok. Pujapad Siddhanti Maharaj. He was visiting and he gave the class and he recited a very beautiful verse from Ujjalini Mani describing the humility of Srimati Radharani. Of course, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 8, Ramananda Samvada describes, though she is the most qualified, she is the most humble. You understand? But he recited the verse, and I don't know the shlok. I have to learn this shlok. That is so beautiful, describing how Radhika is so humble. You understand? So she says, Stita Duli Sadrisam Vichintaya. Even if Sadrist means you'll give me equal vision with the Duli of Braj, with this Braj Duli. You understand? I will take that you've given me Vichintaya, special consideration. You understand? I know you love me, but your Vichinta, your special consideration for me, if you give me Stita Duli, if you give me equality with the dust of Braj, but attachment to you. Stita means to be with you. Give me your Milan. Give me your meeting. I'm suffering in the depth of separation. Give me your meeting, even if you consider to hide me under your feet. Understand? These verses, so much sweetness is in these verses. You understand? So this is Radhika's mood. There's so many things here, but this is base of Radhika's mood of prayer in this 5th verse. That I'm expressing my emotion. Nanda Tanuj, to that person who is so magnanimous, like his father Nanda Maharaj and his grandfather Parjanya. Kinkaram, I'm already your purchase maid servant. Right? Whatever you ask of me, I'll do. But Patita Mam Vishame Baba Ambudo. But right now, in your absence, I am in the most desperate situation. In this mood of separation. Kripaya, please, Tava, your mercy bestowed at Parapankaja on those feet which give, in this case, especially the night blooming lotus. The night blooming lotus is very significant because in the daytime, in other words, to all Gyan, Karma, Tapasya, all the other things which give illumination, right, which are like the sun, Radhika's not praying for that. She's saying like the moon blooming lotus, which blooms by the influence of Chandrika, means the moonbeams, the moon rays. The moon is what gives rasa, like in vegetables, the taste in vegetables, the rasa, the taste, comes from the moon. The sun makes them grow. Water in the sun makes them grow to their maturation, but the actual taste in the vegetables comes from moon. So Radhika is saying, Padapankaja, to that person who has called us to dance on the full moon night, right? Please give me that kind of shelter, right? How? Stita. But if you have any fear that somehow or another, any ill fame will come to you by associating with any married woman, anything, hide me. Stita Duli, Sajasam Pichintaya, on the bottom of your feet. I've already positioned myself there. Trenadapi Sunich. I've taken a position lower than the grass. And in waiting for you to bestow that mercy, Toror Eva Saishnuna, I've become like a tree. The trees have always given you shade, service, fruits for you and your friends, everything. But they've stood through winter, summer, all kinds of conditions. You understand? So this is the mood of the prayer of Radhika in this 5th verse. So any comments or any questions? Next week.
Haribol, Haribol Mukunda.
Yes.
It's Manini Radha. I had posted something in the Florida Bhakti Intensive from discerning the true sentiments of the soul. You know, and Srila Gurudev in there said in the 5th verse, I mean, he was talking about a progression in Sri Siksastakam, and I shared that there. And he said in the 5th verse, our Siddha Deha is revealed. So it sounds like it's like what you're saying, but even further, that if we really could enter in, it's at this point that we would begin to have self-realization. Is that the way to understand it? I mean, I know that like my understanding of Sri Siksastakam, it's like about, I mean, for lack of a better way of saying, like receiving the milk of Harinam, you know. And so if I understood what was being said, and he was talking about how Bhakti Vinod Thakur, you know,
Bhajan Rahasya.
Well,
Yeah.
it's go ahead. I'll
In
listen.
Bhajan Rahasya, also Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has followed the pattern of Siksastakam in describing the Astayamis, the 8 periods of the day. And he's also given commentary about the unfoldment, because the unfoldment in Bhakti also follows a similar krum. I've often used not Siksastakam, but the Guru Ashtakam. In the
Yes.
same way follows that krum.
Yes.
So from verse 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, the fourth would be Ruchi. And so the first verse would be Adoshradha, and in part Sadhu Sangha.
Yes.
The second verse is actually Sadhu Sangha in the beginning of Bhajan, which begins with coming under the guidance of the Vichardhara of Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu, Kirtan, Nitya Gita, etc. Understanding the line of Mahaprabhu indicates the true aspiration of Sadhu Sangha and doing Bhajan Kriya. Then in the Bhajan Kriya, one learns the savor of Radha and Krishna, because when you enter into Mahaprabhu's line very deeply, or mood very deeply, you arise. What is the verse? Gaurangera Rasanave Setaranga Javedube Shirada Madhavantaranga. So when you dive deeply into the ocean of Mahaprabhu's vichar, you'll come up in the antaranga, means the inner circle of Radha and Madhav, as I just got through explaining. So that third verse represents the process of bhakti. So Adoshara and Sadhu Sangha, then Bhajana Kriya, then doing the bhajan actually in the third verse, Shivigrahara, Dhana Nityanana, etc. Doing actual bhajan seva with Sambandha Gyan.
Yes. Yes.
And then in the fourth verse, Nishta arises, because due to the practice, Nishchalaya Yasha Iti Nishta, Nishta arises in the heart. So now the heart has become steady, and it allows that the Rasa Samagri in the practice of bhakti, in Harinam, in Bhagavat Shravan, in Hari Katha, that Rasa Samagri can then have influence on the heart. So Tatat Bhava Adi Madhure, Shuti Dira Pekshate, etc. So this is the stage of Ruchi. Then, in the next stage, Ruchi turning into a Shakti becomes Shri Radhikaya Madhavyorapar. Madhujalila Gunarupananam Pratikshana. Pratikshana means every single second. So this indicates the stage of a Shakti. The stage of a Shakti is the intense anxiety every second, begging for the Kripa of Bhagavan to reveal my identity in full. So this is the beginning of realizing one's Swarup. In the same way, Gurudev is making in the 5th verse here of this Astakam, the beginning of that realization of Swarup is becoming present. Ai Nanda Tanuja Kinkara.
Chai. Yeah, yes. Yes, that's why I was just realizing it's just I read Bhajan Rahasya, but it was so long ago, and I probably need to completely immerse again, because I don't even know what I could take from it the first time reading, but we were reading with Mahabhuti. But I didn't realize, I saw that quote and it was talking about, like you said, the crumb, and it's just a realization for myself. There's just so much that we can absorb, like the actual words and understanding of each verse, but when understanding them as they lead to an unfoldment, that's what the crumb is, right? Leading to like a progressive unfoldment of realization.
Krum means like a progression.
Yes.
So in the meanings, there's also a progression. Sometimes it is called Artha Dwani. So it's not necessarily a krum here, but Artha Dwani means the echo of the meanings. You understand?
Yes.
Like, if someone will say something like, in a poetic way, they're trying to describe something. They may use a certain word, but that word will have so many alternative meanings from the poetic implication. You understand?
Yeah, that's much like the writings of Rupa Goswami,
Yes. Like writings of all the Acharyas.
or Gopi Geet.
Exactly.
Is an example. Okay. All
Everything.
right.
In Gita, every single Rasa Sastra is like this. And even in Bhagavad Gita, according to the particular krum of unfoldment in the heart of the person reading Bhagavad Gita, Samanyanupakyan, Guyupakyan, Guyatam, Sabguyatam, depending on their own adhikar and anugatya, the meanings of Bhagavad Gita will become different. They won't become different in the sense that the first meaning is not true. They become different in application to the specificity of that person's adhikar. In other words, if one is studying Bhagavad Gita from Samanyanupakya, it means just a general book of study about Dharma and how to do your duty. That's different from the person who identifies as a Brajvasi and how they're looking. I'm reading this about my Ishtadev, who is the prananath of my Ishtadevi, right? Because in Sambanyagan, Raghunath Das Goswami is written, 9th verse of Mahasiksha. Malisha Nattadve, Vrajavipina Chandrabrane, Sarim Nattadve. You understand? So for us, Krishna is the prananath, means he's the beloved of Radhika. And my actual Ishtadev is Srimati Radhika, right?
Yes.
In a sense, because actually Rupa Goswami is written, Sri Krishna Vishayani Rati. The Vishay in the Alamban of Ras is Sri Krishna. So it means Radha and Krishna. But the special inclination in Manjari Bhav, Sanchari Sat Samunava, Surirati Krishnarati Surirati, right? Pushamanas Adikascha. So that love for Krishna, Pushamanas means is nourished, Adika, by the excessive love for Radhika in the Manjaris. You understand?
Yes.
So a person reading Bhagavad Gita who's trying to be situated in Sambandha Gyan in that light will see all the meanings as Krishna being the Brajendra Nandan Shri Krishna who went to Mathura and then by consequence of circumstances had to go to Dwarka. And in that great distance for a great period of time, whom we've only seen once again at the Surya Grahan, means the solar eclipse at Kurukshetra, and who then again went back. So now, Dvigune Viharatati. So Anujalimani is describing the nature of what is called Pradurabhav, Vipralambika Pradurabhav. And in the third line it says, but when one has a sporty of Krishna or has darshan of Krishna ordinarily, Dvigune Virhartati, right? Spurate Anuragaje. It means that even in the stage of Anurag, if you have darshan of Krishna, etc., then that darshan, once you lose it, Dvigune, the intensity of the Viharatati, means the suffering becomes doubled.
Right.
So now Krishna seeing the gopis and gopis seeing Krishna Kurukshetra, now again they've separated with no planned time frame for when they'll meet. So now the separation is doubled, but not only in gopis, also on Krishna.
Yes.
That's why it describes, Mani, Shistakante, Govinda Shistakante Muchina. That Krishna, when he's embracing even one of the queens in Dwarka, he remembers Raj and faints.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So they're seeing Bhagavad Gita as Krishna coming back to the same place they last met. Now he's here. He becomes overwhelmed by remembrance of the Brijabasis and Gopis here. And his heart starts to bleed. A catharsis of his separation, coded is called Bhagavad Gita's 700 verses.
Wow.
So therefore the Dwani, the Artha Dwani here each verse will be how Krishna's catharting about his separation from Vrindavan.
And even that progression to Prananath is in Sri Siksastakam too, because that's like the last verse in Sri Siksastakam is the same moon. Okay. I think I'm grasping like a modicum of this, but Haribol, thank you.
I'm also grasping at straws here. I'm repeating what Gurudev says and our Acharyas say for my own edification. And by this repetition, may the samskar of these things be deeper and deeper. Then as we progress in sudden bhajan, following the orders and practices given by Guru, then the samskar begins to grow. Mahaprabhu gave this example to Sanatana Goswami. Malikana se bija ropan shravan kirtane jale kariye shikhan. That you take the beej of bhakti, you plant it. Malik means like a gardener. Then water it by this kind of hearing and chanting. Then the sprout will come, they will grow, it will pierce through the coverings of the universe, etc., etc., and find shelter at the lotus feet of Bhagavan. And the fruits will manifest.
Yes. Yeah. And what you're just saying now is helping me to understand how that mood of Jagannath was connected, in the separation related to Bhagavad Gita and this whole experience. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mukunda. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Any other questions or comments or sharing?
Mukunda, can you hear
Hari Bol,
me?
Bhumi. Dandavat, yes.
Gurudev's commentary, for those who have Siksastakam, they should read Gurudev's commentary.
It's amazing.
Yes. the vritti, just one part here. He makes this point. As long as the jiva is not situated in his swarup, anarthas are inevitable. In such a condition, ascertainment of the ultimate goal remains ambiguous. Sudha Harinam Sankirtan begins upon the awakening of Sambandha Gyan. And only by such Sudha-nam Sankirtan is prema obtained. When the heart is purified by continuous chanting of Sudha-nam, rati is manifested in the heart of the jiva. This rati, also known as bhava, is the initial sprout of unalloyed love for Krishna. It is a combination of the samvid and ladini potencies of the Lord, Swarup Shakti, and is eternally situated in the hearts of the Lord's eternal associates. By the mercy of Sri Krishna and Sri Gurudev, this bhav is transmitted into the jiva's heart, at which time he is known as a jati rata bhakta, or devotee in whom rati or bhav has manifested. There is a difference between the Nam Sankirtan of a ajati rata sadhaka, one in whom rati is not manifested, and a jata rati babuka bhakta. To deceitfully present oneself as a jati rata bhakta before having attained to such a stage is completely improper.
Yes.
After anartha nivritti, one becomes situated in narantaya, or uninterrupted steadiness, practice of sadhana. Next, one attains swecha purvika, which means meditation on the pastimes of the Lord by one's own will. This is an advanced stage of remembrance of the Lord, which comes in the stage of a Shakti. Is followed by the condition known as Swarashiki, when the pastimes of the Lord automatically manifest in one's heart as an uninterrupted flow. This comes in the stage of bhav after Sudha Sattva manifest in the heart. At last, one comes to the stage of Krishna Prema.
Yes. Yeah. And Bhumiyas here, Gurudev is saying the word Swaicha Purvika is Swaicha Purvika. Swaicha means the desire. So Gurudev is not saying, like literally, because somebody may mistranslate or misinterpret Gurudev's application. It's not saying by their own power. The power of bhakti and the Icha for that particular mood of service, Swaicha Purvika, has produced the effect. You understand? So it's not that the power in the jiva is producing it. Like now, because this is one of the big things that happens. A devotee thinks, I'm doing bhakti. I'm going to remove my anarthas. I'm going to do the work.
Well, let me just read a little bit of the paragraph before. That's why I said the whole thing. I'm sorry. The attempt to attain the lotus feet of Sri Krishna by one's own endeavor is called aroha panta.
Yes.
Krishna cannot be obtained by this method because it is opposed to the jiva's inherent function.
Yes.
Only by adopting a service attitude, which is in accordance with Krishna's will, is it possible to attain his lotus feet. Endowed with such firm faith, one should engage in the process of sadhana and bhajan. The words padaduli, dust particle, indicate the jiva's eternal identity as an infinitesimal part and parcel of Bhagavan, known as Vibhina Namsha.
Vibhinamsa, yes. Yeah, see, and you put it in context there. So it's not the jiva's power, it's the power of having surrendered. And then Bhakti Shakti, the Kriya Shakti in Bhakti, gives the ability that the desire of Bhagavan and the desire of the aspirant become one. So Swaicha Purvika. They become one desire.
Yeah, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon.
A marathon. Exactly. Good. Very good. Very good. Any last comments? Anyone? All right, we won't hold. Too much. Go ahead, Virginia.
I have a question. It's a little different.
Mhm.
Another area.
Okay.
Krishna is all-knowing.
Mhm.
So is everything known by Krishna as far as what we're going to do, what we're going to do next, when we're going to surrender, all these things? Is Krishna knows these things, or he just let things flow as they flow, and whatever happens is based on our desire, not that he knows what we're going to do next? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, two angles of vision may be taken here. One is that Krishna is actually omnipotent and omniscient. So Krishna knows, just like he told Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, I know everything, but Arjuna, even from one birth to another, I know everything, but you cannot remember. You understand? So Krishna in one sense is all-knowing, but Krishna has another feature called Mugdata. Mugdata means he may elect, or his Shakti operating on his behalf, may elect to make him not know. So we can consider in his Bhagavata, it means in his position as God, he knows everything. What I'll do, when I'll surrender. But sometimes that may be seen as, well, Bhagavan knows when I'll surrender and he'll give me a hint. And so in this way, how come you're not doing Saranagati? Oh, I'm waiting Bhagavan to give. He knows everything. He'll let me know when it's time. He may not text me or Facebook me, messenger, anything, but he'll let me know. You understand? I've actually heard stuff like this. When the time comes, God will let me know when I should surrender.
Yeah.
You understand? So, but even if God does know, in either scenario, in Mukdata or Savagya, means in either he's all-knowing or he chooses by his Shakti not to know, the point being, he's there as the witness, Antaryami, in the heart. The super soul in the heart has two functions, Unmata and Upadrish. Upadrish means he's like a witness, Sakshi. He's seeing what is the jiva's inclination. And he's giving his mercy via the external manifestation of the super soul, who is called, like in the, I think it's first chapter of Adi Lila. What is that verse? Jive Sakshat Nai Chaitya Guru Rupe. Krishna Hoy, no, Shiksha Guru Hoy, Krishna Mahant Swarupe. Then that same super soul appears externally as the Mahant. Mahant means Sadhu Guru in the external manifestation. And through them, he's giving guidance how to progress, witnessing the nature of the inner mood of that person, how that person can progress. But when you'll surrender, he will leave the minuteness of free will in order for you to do that. Now, some people think, and I actually heard somebody speak in a class recently, free will is all powerful. That's not true in the jiva. Free will is not all powerful. Free will is a samagri, means it's part of the samagri of praying. Samagri means like a mix, like when you make a spice, like curry powder. It's a samagri of different spices, like coriander, cumin, turmeric, etc. So similarly, to have prem ras, the rasa is a samagri. It's a mixture of different things. Part of that mixture is free will. Because if there's no free will, love doesn't have a free expression. You understand? So free will is the imperceptible element or samagri in prem that makes prem apparently come from the person towards Bhagavan. Because if we were forced to do it, then it would not truly be prem. You understand? So the perception. However, what's actually causing the love of the jiva to manifest? It's Samvit Shakti and the Ladini Shakti. Bhumi read this earlier. The combination of these two things is what has dominated the chitta of the jiva. Just like I've mentioned this before, we often quote the verse, Sudha Sattva Visheshatma Prem Syangsa Samyava, Ruchi Bish Chittamasanya Kriso Bhavuchite. That Bhav means when Swarup Shakti descends, but what happens when it descends? Well, 2 verses later, it mentions, Avirbuya Manovritam Vrajayate Tat Swarupatam. When Swarup Shakti descends, it takes over the functions of the chitta. So Saranagati means you avail yourself to being taken over by the internal energy of Bhagavan. Just like when we're in the material world, who's actually controlling the jiva in the material world?
Modes of material nature.
Yes. In Bhagavad Gita, he's saying, Prakriti kriya manani gunai kamani savasha ahamkara vimuratma. The ahamkara is bewildering us, thinking we're the doer and the cause. But what's actually happened? Kartamati manyate. You think you're the kartatva, but actually everything is being done by the modes of nature, material energy. Similarly, when you completely do saranagati to Bhagavan, avibhuyo manovrito vrajayate tatsvarupatam. Swayam prakasha rupapi basate what is it? Bashamanam kashyavat. This shlok. So it's saying that when you fully become accomplished in the stage of Bhav, then Swarup Shakti descends and takes over the functions of the chitta. Vrajayate means to permeate. So the desire of God permeates the chitta. And the devotee in that stage is acting according to the desire of Krishna. You understand? But Bashamana Prakashavat. Bashaman means it illuminates in the consciousness as though it's coming from me. You understand? This is so interesting. Bashamana Prakashavat. It manifests as my desire and my energy to serve you. But the power to serve God can only come from God. You understand? So it takes over the functions of your chitta and avails your swa-icha purvika, your desire to become one with the desire of Bhagavan, and this relationship is created. Free will is one ingredient in that whole mix. So Bhashaman Prakashavat is very similar to that. It gives the impression of free will, I'm loving you. And without that mood, I'm loving you, then it would be like corrupted. Because it wouldn't be an experience that I'm loving Bhagavan, it would be I'm being forced to love Bhagavan. You understand? But some people have a misconception of free will because they think free will is some all-powerful thing within the jiva. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the 16th chapter of Jaiva Dhamma glorifies it, says it's the most wonderful thing because it is a samadri of praying. But people saying, by my free will, I fell out of the spiritual world. That means your free will can completely usurp all of the principles and policies of the spiritual world. Like no illusion can come there. But your free will allowed an illusion to come there for you to be bewildered to fall. So free will doesn't have that power. And I asked one devotee one time, he was trying to explain to me, well, we fell because of free will. So I was saying, if the free will was so powerful, it could override the principles of the spiritual world and even the principles of love. Because Rupa Goswami told, Savata Dangsaraitam, Yarapi Dangshakarane, that once you have a relationship with Krishna, it cannot be broken under any circumstance. So if your free will is so powerful, it allowed an illusion to come into the spiritual world and break the love you had for Krishna. How come it's not powerful enough for you to say right now, well, I just want to change it and go back? So it's powerful enough to beat the spiritual world principles, but not the material world, which is inferior. So the logic is off. That's why you have to stay under guidance.
Well, Mukunda, one thing Prabhupada mentioned, one of the things, like in order to have that mentality, he said, we don't understand that we're actually very insignificant.
Mm-hmm.
Because we think ourselves, yes, I can serve Krishna, but we're very insignificant. Very, very insignificant. And we shouldn't have this mentality. I'm coming to the process. I'm doing this. We're not the doers. Bhakti is doing this. And this is by grace. It's by mercy that it descends upon us.
Yeah, this is the meaning. So Icha Purvika, again. So each means dovetailing your desire. Purvika means like beginning. So the beginning, the Purva of Swaicha, of your desire, is that it should be dovetailed with the desire of the Lord. How do we start that process? There is Ado Shraddha, faith comes, and once faith comes by Mati, Mati means the discrimination. Oh, I should pursue spiritual life, realizing the material world has so many problems. Understand? But then says, then Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. The Tata Sadhu Sangha part means Saranagati. When it says that we should do Saranagati, the Saranagati, is it to Krishna? Think about it deeply. It's to the agency of Krishna.
Guru's
To Guru.
Hari.
This is the meaning of This is the meaning of the crumb being adoshara sadhu sangha. When there's faith, then you can try to do anukulyasya sankapa pratikulyasya vivajana rakshishiti vishwas gopta vevaranam tata. You have Krishna's completely taking care of everything to the agency of Guru. So the saranagati is to the agency of Krishna, sakshararitva Bhagavan, in this world, Guru. The person doing this function of Guru, he's called sadhu. I mentioned this many times on the class. And this is important because the Guru, the sadhu, considers himself not to even be sadhu or Vaishnava. You understand the mood Mahaprabhu is expressing here? Stita duli sadhu samvichinta. Be seen as lower, trenadapi sunich. But if I have the abhiman, I'm sadhu even, or I'm guru. This is a very high class of thing to be sadhu. Sadhnoti sadhaitita Krishna premiti sadhu. Real sadhus have praying for Krishna. So it's a very high class of thing. So one should consider, oh no, trenadapi sunich. I'm insignificant. But bhakti is so delicate. That's why guidance is needed. If a person will, again, like Bhumi was reading from Gurudev's commentary, that if a person will try to impose this dainya bhav, humility, that will also be artificial. You understand? Sometimes you talk to a devotee, say, oh, Prabhuji, very nice kirtan you led today, very nice class you gave. Oh, Prabhu, I'm so fallen. I'm the most fallen of all fallen. There's no one more fallen than the fallen if I'm fallen. You understand? But that sentiment is not a genuine spiritual emotion of dainya bhav, because we mentioned that sentiment is proportionate to what is it? Paripokena Danasha Krishna Prema Ajasan Vitanyate, to the growth of bhakti. Parasparam. They're mutually nourishing activities. As the more you become realized, the more dainya bhav arises. Karya mikshite. One causes the other. But if you just by false egoism make the politically correct statement, I am the most fallen. No one's more fallen than me. It is your false ego defending a position. So I told, even sometimes I'll tell people, it's better not to declare your status. If somebody say, oh, you gave a very nice class, one thing I can be sure, it was Gurudev's mercy. That I'm sure. How fallen I am, not fallen, these things, I don't know, because I have no even qualification to assess truly. You understand? I'm only at the behest of Gurudev's mercy and everything. That's why they're saying Gurudev's mercy is everything for me. No other consideration. You understand? I'm fallen, not fallen. Whatever it is that Gurudev has made me, that's what I am. I don't have anything else. You understand? Because if I make a declaration, it means I have power of realizing that thing. So if humility is a sanchari bhav of actually realized state, am I self-realized? So I will stay in the category, oh, because when that true sanchari bhav comes, it's self-evident. So now I know everything is the mercy of my Gurudev. That much I know. Understand? Everything else I don't know. So anytime anybody will give compliment, very nice prasad you made, Didi Prabhu, very nice kirtan, Didi Prabhu, very nice class, Didi Prabhu, oh, very nice dressing, Thakurji, Didi Prabhu, Gurudev Kripa. All right, I think we should get ready. Yes, I was just saying the same thing. Is Anuradha on? Maybe they're not here today. All right. Let me see. Rajendra, just a little bit of kirtan, and then we'll wrap up.
Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Haribo, Dhanavad, Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Right,
Dhanavad, Krishna.
Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha, Dhanavad. All right, Prabhuji's and Didis next week.
Hari Hari Bo.
Haribo, Radhe Radhe.
Hari Hari.